No! Welcome in, guys. Today we're going to show you a quick way to set up 3 rigs and a couple of different variations of those 3 rigs to help you catch more trophy catfish. Super simple, easy way. So this video is all about rigs, not hats unless you want one. Alright, first thing we've got to teach you guys how to do is to properly snell a hook. Now the no-knot snell is a waste of your time, but we're going to use black light, show you an easy way to tie the uni snell. So, alright guys, so the first thing you're going to do, you're going to take your line. We're using main line just to help you guys be able to see the line a little easier, but you're going to go through the front of the eye, pull yourself a pretty decent little tag. You're going to create a loop, you're going to pinch the loop. So, you have a loop. I'm going to take the tag, go through the loop, over the shank of the hook 7 times. So that's 2 and 7. Then, hold that with our other hand, pull it down. Now, you have a snell knot that can't back out, all nice and tight. Step 1 to all of your catfish leaders. Alright guys, now that we know how to tie a good uni snell knot, that'll be the basis for everything. First rig that we're going to teach you guys how to tie is a super simple Carolina rig. That's going to use a sinker slide and a standard ball bearing swivel. First thing we're going to do, we got to snell our hook to our main line. Now this version we're going to show you guys the tied way, so we're going to use a 50-pound main line. Let me get this snelled up and we'll get right back to it. Alright, so in a traditional standard Carolina rig, we're just going to run a section of main line, call it 20 inches. Give it a little clip. That frees up our leader line to our hook. And we're going to tie an easy Palomar knot to our swivel. So, let's switch back over to the UV light and we'll show you how to tie a Palomar line. Alright guys, so step 1, you can take your tag in, go through your swivel. Free swivel. Take this same tag in, go back through, so you've got a loop, swivel's free. Now, we're going to take our loop, we're just going to tie a super simple overhand knot, just like that. Take this loop, go over the swivel, kind of look like that, cinch it down. And there you have a quick, simple Palomar knot. So, let me tie my Palomar real quick, be right back with you. Now we have leader line, hook, swivel, all connected. This is your basic Carolina rig when you pair it with a sinker slide. Now one of the important things with a Carolina rig is to always use some kind of form of knot protection. We like the little glow-in-the-dark rubber beads from Tackle Bandit, same as our swivels. Ball bearing swivels from Tackle Bandit. So, you will have your sinker slide to a bead to your swivel. Now, I prefer the improved clinch knot. If you have a knot for tying main line to swivels that you prefer and that you have confidence in, that's the one you should use. We prefer the improved clinch, which is 7 twists, main line through the loop, then through the new loop you created, little slick 'em, and that is your generic Carolina rig. Now this rig can be modified. You can add a brute demon dragon, add a small demon dragon, a small Dragon Master Bite Me float, a big Dragon Master Bite Me float, or old cheap split comel float. The nice thing about a comel float with the slotted comels is if I don't need a float and then decide to put one on later, it can be added at any point. Now if you like line rattles, you can add those. Super versatile off of very simple form. We prefer to crimp our leaders, so stay tuned. Later in the video, we're going to get to that. The next rig we're going to show you guys how to tie up is a 3-way rig, or as most people know, the Santee Cooper rig. So, let's get to that one. Alright guys, with the 3-way rig, we're going to start with a snelled hook. Again, we've got our section of leader line. This is going to be closer to 24 to 36 inches for us. The only difference is instead of a 2-way swivel, we're going to add a 3-way swivel. But this is the time, before you put that swivel on, you decide if you want to add something like the Bite Me float. So for this rig, we'll showcase a Bite Me float. Super simple. We're just going to feed it down. Comes with these nice little rattling pins, so you still get a little bit of that noise. While having something soft, we have found some fish bite onto a hard float. They don't like it. So now we have ready for a float rig. I prefer to use a 3-way bumping swivel, which we will show you a close-up of that now. So this is the Tackle Bandit 3-way, what they call a bumping swivel. We are going to attach our leader to this center section right here. Now for this, if you're tying it with knots, the knot I prefer to tie here is the improved clinch. So then coming off your swivel, you're gonna like this. We like to put a duo clip on top of our weights. The other option you can do is tie a sinker dropper, but since we do a lot of dragging, which is what this rig is most commonly used for, our dragging weights have clips on them, so we just add a little duo clip to our cannonballs, and when it sits in the water, it's going to stand up just like that. We're going to follow this main line over and this float to our hook. It's going to keep everything lifted up in the water. Just for the sake of being able to show you guys easily, I shortened the leader, but that makes the weight sit down, swivel stands up, float picks your bait up, life is good. Now, this one rig can be used anchor with a small Bite Me, that's one way, big Bite Me, 2, little brute, sorry, little demon, and then a brute. That gives you 4 options already of how to run this one different rig and get 4 different results. Bigger floats, bigger rattles, bigger baits, but those finicky fish may want smaller floats, smaller rattles. Now you can always pair this with a standard combo float or a Tackle Bandit inline rattle. We prefer to use things like the Bite Me floats or the Demon Dragons. So the big thing for us is we're not a huge fan of knots. We prefer to crimp everything. Crimping provides a lot more consistency, and when you're trying to figure out points of failure or what might have gone wrong, if you keep everything the same, it's easier to know where you failed. So let's show you guys how we crimp our 3-way rigs to get ready for dragging with 100-pound slime line and some high seas double barrel crimps. Alright guys, same as with a hand-tied rig, crimping rigs are going to start the same way. We're going to start with a snelled hook. Everything's the same except for using 100-pound main line and a high seas crimp. First we got to snell. Alright, so we've got it snelled up. For this rig, we're going to tie up a brute demon dragon, and we're going to crimp to both ends of the demon dragon. So we're going to pull about 4 inches of our line and get that ready to crimp. Now with crimps, you don't want to use anything that cuts your line that will pinch it, that deforms the end of the line. It's not going to slide through your crimps good. Hey guys, important thing to remember with crimps is you always want your crimps to be sized to your main line. So we're using the 100-pound slime line, and as you can see, it's 1 millimeter. We're using the high seas D-series crimps, which are 1 millimeter. Everything's going to fit. Everything's going to be happy. Alright guys, so now that we know everything's sized up right, we've got our line cut without smushing the ends. We're just going to slide the crimp over our main line. We'll grab our Demon Dragon. The flat cut back of a Demon Dragon is the back of the Demon Dragon. That's the end that goes to the hook. Changes how it acts in the water, changes how it reacts to any kind of current, so that's super important to remember. We've got our crimp, flip it through, slide our crimp down. It's going to look just like this, and we're ready to crimp. Now on your crimping pliers, alright guys, so keep in mind your pliers are labeled for what size the holes are, tell you what size crimp go in the crimp pliers. Remember, we have the 1 millimeter crimps. So then we're going to take our pliers, find our 1 millimeter hole, which is this one, and we are going to stand the crimp up inside the pliers. It's going to look just like that. And then we'll squeeze the pliers all the way down. That's it. You've just completed first crimp for a leader. 100% breaking strength, no issues. Now we have a hook to a demon dragon. If that's not going to do us any good, we got to go from demon dragon to the swivel. So let's get ready to crimp one more. So now that our big noisy demon dragon brute is all ready to go, grab another section of leader line and a crimp, and we'll go ahead and crimp to our brute. The nice thing about crimping is there's no line waste because everything is measured and precise. It's not tying a knot and then cutting a big tag in. We'll crimp that one. Good to go. Now for us, we like to run 20 inches from our demon dragon to our swivel. We'll measure that off. I have tape on my table because this is where I build all my leaders. Nice little measured off section, keep everything consistent. Now we're going to go back to that three-way swivel, and remember, we go to that little leg, get ready to crimp that one. And there we have it. Three-way rig, brute demon dragon to a snelled Diachi D85. We're ready to tie this on, clip on a dragon weight, hit the water, find some fish. Now you can change the brute to a smaller demon dragon, to a bite me float, to a comel split peg float. However you want to run it, whatever you prefer, that is the basic Santee Cooper rig. Now the third rig we're going to teach you guys how to tie up. Some people call it a high-low rig. Some people call it a double hook Kentucky rig. I call it fantastic. This will allow you to cover two different sections of the water column with one rod. Starting off, first thing we're going to do, we're going to take the end of our leader line, we're going to tie on a swivel. This is going to be the Palomar knot that we learned earlier. That's going to be step one. Now we're going to switch over to a black light and show you guys how we're going to tie our dropper loops to put two hooks on one line. Now this is going to be called a T-knot. Some people do it different, but the way we prefer to do it, we start with what is called a surgeon's loop. So we're just going to take loop a line, wrap it around our fingers, and we're going to twist that loop like an overhand knot 4 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're just going to pull it tight. That creates a little loop, but you can see it's kind of wants to cross up. It's not a very good T. We're going to take our 2 pieces of line, cross them back over, making a little hole, except we're going to take them and we're going to twist them over each other 6 times. That's 4, 5, 6. Then we're going to pull our dropper loop back through the top of that. Looks like a big mess. And then we'll pull it down tight. And now you can see why it's called a T-knot. So we're going to tie 2 sets of dropper loops. The distance between your dropper loops depends on how much water you want to cover. Majority of the time, I like there to be 10 to 12 inches between the two, depending on if I'm casting this rig or if I'm suspending the rig. If I'm suspending it under planer board, sometimes I'll run this as far as 24 inches between the loops. But once you have your loops, all you have to do to put your hooks on, go through the front of the hook, just pinch the 2 pieces of loop together, put it through the hook, and we're going to take one line, wrap it around the shank of the hook 4 times, pull it down tight. Now we have a hook snelled on a dropper loop. Then we'll put a hook on the other loop. And once again, slide it through the hook, around the shank 4 times, pull it down tight, loop snelled to the hook. So we have a little tag in after our last hook, our 2 hooks in the middle, swivel on the end. We're going to take this tag in, and you can either tie a clip to the end or just tie yourself a little sinker dropper loop, which that surgeon's loop that we learned first step of the T-knot is an excellent option for that. So we'll have ourselves a little loop. When we're ready to go fishing, we can grab our weight, slide that loop through the eye of the weight, wrap it around, pull it down tight. Now our weight is attached to our double hook rig. Alright guys, that's about going to wrap this up for a quick intro. Get you guys some starter ways to tie rigs. We've learned the Carolina rig with a sinker slide. We've learned a 3-way rig and all of the different variations. Today we did the Brute Demon Dragon. We've also taught you guys the double hook Kentucky rig, great way to catch fish. But if you need sources for any of this product, it's all available at Tackle Bandit. We run Diachi hooks, slime line, leader line, Tackle Bandit branded swivels, sinker slides, slide protectors. But if that's too much for you, Tackle Bandit also carries a wide variety of Slunger Cat pre-tied rigs, anything else that you can need. Thanks for hanging out with us. Catch you on the water. We learned that I told you we don't need hats. It's about brutes. So we've got the double hook Kentucky rig. No bad. Why are these pink? No, stop. Damn it. This is why we can't have nice things. The camera people steal things off my table and then put things back.